Hey, what's up guys? BJ Dell back with a new Wednesday weekly art challenge review video. Every week I give you guys a word, a drawing prompt that you can then post your designs on the Facebook group. Keep creating a Learn, Draw, Share art community, which by the way, the link is in the description. But I give you that word, you post your designs, and then every Wednesday I show off some of these designs. And today's video, I picked out 4. From here on out, I'm not going to show every single one that's posted. I'm not going to show the 4 best. I'm not going to show the 4 worst. I'm just going to pick the 4 that you guys can learn the most from and that have the most valuable information. So let's see what 4 made the cut today. All right, guys, so let's go ahead and hop into today's submissions for the word GNOME. The first one comes from Brenda on the Facebook group. As you can see, Brenda went with a Viking gnome, which I absolutely love. I think this is one of the cutest ones for the week. I love it when, you know, you've got a new word and you just don't go for the obvious choice and just do the garden gnome, you know, with a cute little hat. She went with the Viking gnome, and I think it works really, really good. I love the color choices. Everything pops. The shield is just done fantastically. I love the way that these parts curve around, and you've got the circle parts on there with the pointed center part coming out, done very well. Love too that the helmet here comes down over top of the eyes, and you've got the nose sticking out. It just really lends well to the cuteness of the design, and the color choices are just really good. They flow really well. I like the brown color of the shield. That was a really good choice there, and it just overall looks really, really nice. A few things that I would have added a little bit here and there. I like the simplicity of it, but I would have probably gone here, at least on the beard and the mustache, and thrown in a couple of lines here, just so kind of gives it a little extra something. Not totally necessary, but just kind of brings out that beard a little bit more. I wouldn't go super heavy in, you know, trying to do every strand of hair and stuff like that. That doesn't really lend well to the, the design. But, you know, just doing a couple lines here and there just to give that extra look would be, I think, kind of cute and could add a little bit extra to it. So that's one portion there that I would change. Also down here to kind of make the center pointy part stick out a little bit more and look a little bit more three-dimensional, I would put another shadow coming along this bottom part here. And of course, I'm not on layers here. This is just a flat image, but you can see it kind of adds some more dimension to that because you've got the shadow here coming down, which looks really well, and it's done very, very good because it makes it look like that light source is coming in and casting that shadow down. So like I said, just pulling another shadow down here just to kind of build that out a little bit. And then down here too, you could even throw, a couple of shadows here on the side just to add a little bit of extra flair to it. But overall, I think a fantastic, fantastic design. Like I said, this is one of my favorites this week, and I really, really like it. So let's go ahead and go on to the next one. The next one is Louisa Ann. And I apologize if it's not Louisa Ann, if it's just Ann. I know the name is different between Facebook and YouTube. So anyways, this design is absolutely adorable, super cute. The colors work super well. They complement each other very good. Went for a very kind of cool tone, but everything works really well because the hue across everything has got that coolness to it. It's not too warm, and the blue kind of flows in nice to the purple without being lost. The same thing with the bird here. Even the beard here, it's almost got a blue kind of slate tint to it, which works really well. Instead of going for that hardcore gray, it still flows into the coolness of the overall color palette. So that looks really, really good. As far as the shadows and highlights, got everything, I think, pretty much even here. The light source is coming in from this top direction here, so the shadows and the highlights all fall in pretty much the place what they're supposed to. Kept everything really even there, so good job there. I'd probably pull this shadow here up a little bit and drop the the highlight down. You don't want them bumping into each other and touching. So if you break off one and then pull the other one back down around like that, for the nose there. And let's see what else. Might drop the shadow here on the face. Honestly, go just a little bit lighter so it's not so harsh. Sometimes with human skin tones, it can be really hard to get a believable shadow coming off of it, because if you go too dark, it's gonna kind of just make everything look really heavy. So in a case like that, you might actually want to do two separate shadow layers. So having a shadow layer for the other colors and then having a shadow layer for the face color. I know a lot of times on my darker colors, I will use a separate shadow layer and a separate highlight layer when I have light colors, because that shadow is going to look fine on the dark colors, but once you get to those light colors, it's going to look super dark and super heavy. So by using two different layers, you can achieve some better results and better control over your shadows and better control over your highlights. So having two layers for the highlights and two layers for the shadows when you have light and dark color flats is something to definitely consider. But yeah, other than that, I really like the design. The boots down here, I would probably move the legs a little bit further apart, because the way the boots here are, it almost looks like, this one's sitting on top of the other one. I know you kind of wanted them turned and almost pigeon-toed in, but considering that this one is sitting here, it's almost like it's on top of. It doesn't really look like this leg's sitting in front of. It just looks like it's kind of mashed together. So, a couple of ways to do that is if you just, like I said, just pull the legs apart from each other. You can do it like that. So moving, this one over, you could do something like that. Or two, if you wanted, kind of angling these a little bit more so the toes touch instead of, this part setting on top of this. So you would actually have this part here and here, so they would actually touch in the center without overlapping. So that's something to keep in mind. But fantastic job. Like I said, everything looks great. The colors are good. I even like the little attention to detail on the leggings that come down. You've got the triangle design on there. That's super cute and something that probably not a lot of people would have thought about doing. And I think that's a really key to good design work is, going the extra effort to add in little details like that stand out. So fantastic job. Next one up is Kevin's, and Kevin added text to his too, and I really love this design. I think somebody had mentioned in the Facebook comments was, this is something you could see on a greeting card, which I totally agree. The font choice for the GNOME is great. That is a fantastic font. I think it goes really well with the design. Color choice is really good. You've got a nice kind of neutral, natural base tone to everything. You've got those browns and oranges. Even the way that the beard done is here. Like I said, with the first one that Brenda did, not having each individual hair, but I think this works really well. Even though there are the individual hairs, it still looks simplistic, so it doesn't go against the simplicity of the rest of the design. It actually complements it, I think, quite well. So fantastic job there. I think the color choices are really good. As far as your shadows and highlights, I know that you did shadow, and I think it's really hard to see with this. Kind of went in with a darker orange here, but the shadows don't stand out too much. I can see kind of the speckling here to where there are shadows. One thing with the shadows on something like this is don't be afraid to go darker. I know I just, talked about on the previous design, don't go in too dark on the face, but on something like this, I would really try to get this quite a bit darker so that it stands out. Let's see if I can get a good color, but and of course, once again, I can't lock into this layer, but just hitting this quite a bit darker so that stands out. I wouldn't be afraid to do that to kind of build up some more depth and dimension to this. I would probably try to go darker on these lighter parts up here and not as dark down at the bottom, because down here you're going to see that if you go too dark, this is going to start to blend in there with the background. And I like the the contrast that it has to the background right now. So you don't want to get it too dark, but at the same time, just adding a little bit extra in there is going to kind of build up the dimension of that. So you want the removal there to where, you know, you can tell the difference between the background and the character. Same thing with the beard. I would probably go in there and just to add a little bit more depth, like in the video of drawing with outlines and just using that touch-up brush. That's the noise brush, and just adding a little bit of a shadow here underneath the nose. See, it's already kind of adding some more depth, and same thing with the nose there. I see a little bit of shadows there, but I would go a little bit heavier just to kind of build that nose out, and you see everything's starting to have a three-dimensional look to it. And then the highlights, of course, and you see it's already starting to pop and look like it's coming off the page. The one other thing here is everything's super simplistic, like I said, except the strands for the beard, which I think work. The hand here seems like you might have had a little bit problems knowing what to do with the hand. You kind of added the fingers in, but didn't go too dark so they don't really stand out. You can kind of tell they're there. On this, honestly, I don't think that the fingers are even necessary. You've got the nose and everything else really basic. I would almost just go in here with just like a heavy, almost like a mitt hand. Not worry about doing the fingers per se, and then maybe having like a thumb come out this backside so that you can tell it's, you know, the hand coming around. But yeah, I wouldn't worry about, you know, knocking in those fingers individually like that. I don't think it's really necessary. I would just keep it as simple as possible, and maybe not even do the thumb. Maybe just do this, you know, kind of like I said, kind of like a mitt hand here, and then add in some shadows along the side to where you can see where the, you know, the hand overlaps coming out of the coat there. You know, something like that. I think that would look a lot better, and you wouldn't have to worry about doing the individual fingers. But overall, fantastic job, Kevin. Absolutely love it. Super, super good. And then let's go to our final one. Our final one then is Grant's. Let's pull this one up. There we go. So Keep Off Grass. Really like this one. Very strong cartoon design. The colors really jump out at you. Super bright and vibrant. I really like the texture work here in the beard to where these are really just kind of jagged and angled, that it really gives a kind of rough and very cool look to the beard. I also like here how you shadowed underneath the lines there to make them stand out even more. One thing I did notice here, though, you did the same thing on this side with the highlights, and if this will cooperate here, with the highlights, actually, instead of putting them under this part, the highlights themselves I would have put on top of this, because technically this part here, the beard part that's sticking out like that, is still going to be under that part, and this part's going to be on the upper part. So I would actually hit the highlights on this other side of the line, and I think it'll look a little bit more natural and a little bit more believable. The hand over here, really good. When I do fingernails, I usually try to lighten that nail center a little bit. I don't go like super white with it, but I'll go just a little bit lighter than the hand color so it stands out and it doesn't blend in totally. This hand over here looks really good. This hand over here probably needs some work, and next Monday's video, the Let's Draw, I've had a lot of people ask for a hand drawing tutorial, so we're going to do that next Monday. So if you have problems, drawing hands, definitely tune in for that. But if you see this hand, you got the finger coming around here, so it's almost like the index finger is sitting on top here and is twisted around. Super easy to fix, and like I said, once we do that tutorial, hopefully that'll help some people that are struggling with that. So with this, super easy to fix. Like I said, just knock this back out here, and we'll erase this section here, and we'll go back to black. And basically this finger would just come down here, and then if you want the thumb tucked in, just like that there, and looks a lot more natural. This index finger is going to go back and behind instead of being, wrapped up and turned like that. So it just takes practice with the fingers, and the more you practice, the better you will get at it. So Other than that, like I said, I like the orange in the background, super bright. The kind of glow around here works really well. If you're doing this on a t-shirt, obviously, if you're dropping the background, I wouldn't use that, because on DTG, direct-to-garment printing, and a lot of the print on demand companies use, that would not turn out that well. So anything with an opacity you want to avoid. So I wouldn't use that if you were doing this on a t-shirt. But the other thing that I would do too is on the cheeks here, you've got the rose color, which I absolutely love. I've done that quite a bit, especially for one of the card games that I did in the past. It was the Drunken Royals, and also Drunken Royals and Vikings. Of course, they were, you know, these alcoholic characters, so I wanted to give them kind of the rosacea of, you know, drinking. So I did a lot of trial and error with that. And usually what I would do is get a pretty solid, bright pink color, and then go into my airbrushing and go with a soft airbrush here, and then make a new layer. And then I would just go in, kind of build up the center, go kind of heavy there, and go lighter as I went out. So it's just not so stark, and you can kind of build this up as you go out. And then same thing here with the nose. I would do that same red here on the nose. And to get a nice blend to it, then we go in with the airbrush on the smudge tool and just kind of smudge that out so it flowed in, you know, really nice and look natural. And then putting it on another layer is nice, because then what you can do is, if you go too dark, which most of the times I would on purpose, go too dark, and then drop the opacity of that down till you get a nice natural look. And the darker you go, the more control you're going to have over that once you start messing around with the opacity. So a couple of tips there for applying stuff like that. Most of my, you know, coloring is flat, and then I do the pretty hard line shadows and highlights, but I like to use that airbrushing when I'm adding in the extra colors. That's the only time I really use airbrushing too much on these cartoon designs, but it comes in super handy. So good job, Grant. But those are the 4 designs for today. All right, guys, that's it for today's video. As always, thank you for watching. I appreciate it. So if you would like to join in on this weekly art challenge, here's how. Number 1, join that Facebook group, Keep Creating, and then post your designs in there. I'm going to pick out another 3 or 4 for next week's video. And this week's word, the art prompt for the week, is seahorse. So let's see what you guys can do with seahorse. Post it in the group. Want to check it out. As for me, I can be found online at bjdell.com, as well as on Instagram and Twitter at bjdell. So until next time, keep creating.